Hit record, they say. Talk from the heart, they say. Easier said than done sometimes. I go through my mind all the time, right before hitting record and talking from the heart. But the thing is, I've already talked from the heart before I hit record. Now that it's time to hit record, it's like, oh. I hope that it can translate the same way as it did when I was off camera. Now that I'm getting on camera, speaking through this real yet artificial bypass to connect to more people through this internet, eternal nature. Probably wondering, like, is this dude up in a tree? Yes, I am. You got the sea back there. About to enjoy this beautiful sunset over there. I'm gonna scroll down. You can see that I'm in a tree. Got my campsite down there, just surrounded by brush. The nature, the great spirit, the great mother. Yeah, I know I'm gonna hold this camera. I was trying to fix it, but since I got the microphone attached wirely, I'm limited, so it's not a bad view for now. I don't know, being in nature has given me so much more clarity. Literally rooting me back to its presence, its beauty, its benevolence. Also its malevolence. Traveling and hiking where I am, definitely come across nature where it's not too kind at times. Stray dogs. Luckily I have my walking stick. If you have seen me in other videos, it's a good deterrent. Probably also what attracts some of them to want to bark at me other than just being a stranger, because they were like, ooh, this dude got a stick. I know some dogs can be afraid of sticks, or you got a big object in your hand, they might go on the defense, but such is their nature. Getting caught in the rain, downpours, being in between towns or someplace to try to get before I even had an umbrella to get, or extra plastic bags just to take a refuge in. Luckily I have my hammock with me. That's a good, it's not really rainproof per se, but it's better than nothing. I feel like a mixture, if I were to personify down to an animal as we do in a lot of great stories and stuff, to tell stories, I would personify myself as a bird and a cat. Hence that's why I'm in this tree. The bird part of me is high up giving me a bird's eye view, my higher self, to look down, to get a sight of the bigger picture, to see the forest made of the trees. Also seeing myself as a cat, as they notoriously known to get stuck in trees or can climb trees like the bigger cats, especially like a leopard as it pulls its prey to higher ground to keep away from other deterrents and hyenas or other animals trying to get at its prey. But being a cat, I can get lower to the ground, the lower self, see the trees inside the forest, having a balanced observation of my lower and higher self for more equilibrium perspective of reality. Not just seeing it from one side, but from seeing it from the other side too, because things aren't always as they seem. Such is life, man, because nothing really seems as it seems, especially nowadays. Seems like more and more things are getting ramped up or exposed. Hopefully breaking your concepts of reality, of what we've been made to believe of reality. Most of reality, all of reality is taken in through the senses, the five senses they tell you about. The touch, smell, hearing, taste. Sight. Did I get all of them? If not, you know what I'm talking about. Hopefully. Unless you like a baby. Then you got other senses too. Kind of your sixth sense, that intuition, that eternal gut feeling that you can't really explain. Trying to figure out where that comes from. Maybe even the mind is a sense too, because where's that coming from? To hear this voice inside your head. You can change the volume. You can change the accent. It can be your voice, someone else's voice in your head. The other dimensions of reality. From the spiritual, metaphysical to the physical. Most of us know the physical, then the spiritual and metaphysical. The spiritual has been manipulated and bypassed with all these religions and I guess you could say think tanks too. You got all these great minds pondering and having these huge discussions on these ideas, but how much of it is actually being implemented in reality to bring such about results. Especially on the social level, how much we have so much disagreement in that area, but technologically, infrastructurally, to a point religiously, how it's more streamlined and can come together to manifest this reality that we live in right now. Oh man, the sea's so calm right now, it's just floating. Just drifting peacefully. Calm and serene. It's majestic as fuck though. That's why I like this view. I was like, oh, I'm gonna climb this tree. I like climbing trees ever since I was young. It's ingrained in my DNA, DEA, coming from the indigenous roots that I come from, trying to even begin to know. Some of you already have an idea of my history, being an indigenous person, as you can tell by my skin color and the adornments of jewelry I like to wear. Also like wearing this shirt, the mountain, wearing this pink. That's the enlightenment color. Once you reach that rosy kind of color, ascending from your lower self to your higher self, reaching that mountaintop, coming from that cat view to your bird's eye view. And as you see, a mountain is a triangle, a pyramid. That's what the pyramid represents. You can even look at the food pyramid. Now that they changed it, they turned it sideways, showing the colors. I haven't looked at it in a while. I don't know if the colors are arranged like the chakra colors, but now they got a person walking up the side to show that along with eating healthy, you have to move your body, be a part of your body, not just consume, but also to show the ascension process. And that's what being in nature is helping me do. Remove the distractions to help facilitate my ascension process, to help me win, welcome eternal nourishment. But a lot of us lose lustfully obtain sensations externally. And going back to the senses, most of life is taken through the senses, but the most important one that you obtain it through is visually. Think about how much you see on a daily basis to reconfirm such the way you think about reality. Especially being more in these developed countries versus underdeveloped. I don't really like using that first world, second world, third world. And we all on the same world. How is it? But yeah. You can even think of IKEA. IKEA, they do it so simple. They got their problems. There's fast fashion, there's fast food, there's fast furniture. IKEA happens to do probably all three, because if you go to IKEA, they even know you're going to be there that long. They have a food court. Get some meatballs, breakfast, lunch, dinner. And that's such a visual experience too. You come in, immediately have to go upstairs, because usually you start ground level, then work your way up, then back down, but they work you up, then down. As you go up and go through these different departments by the sections, seeing displays of all the furniture, and they got the numbers, the item numbers, and what, once you get to the lower level, what bin it's in, so you can take note of like, oh, I like this item, all this kind of stuff. So as you work your way through all the departments, like bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, I guess children's play area, lighting. I don't know, it's been a moment since I've been to IKEA. But then you finally work your way to the ground floor, and it's like the warehouse space where you get your little cart and get all your boxes, and you check out. Then you load your car and be on your way with all your boxes and your meatballs. Maybe they got some cinnamon rolls there too, I believe. Oh, that sounds delicious right now, some cinnamon rolls. I'm trying to kick this sweet tooth I have, eat more naturally sweet versus this artificial sweetness. Because that's one thing that contributes to blocking off your third eye. That's what you really need to see with versus these optically. That's why you gotta have that balanced perspective of reality. Because your visual eyes can lie to you. So can your mindful eye. But you gotta train it, to work on it, to master it. Also, if you think of like the Kung Fu movies, Avatar, The Last Airbender, oh, my favorite. I felt like speaking to my soul watching that movie. So the James Cameron Avatar, hence why I'm in this tree. I feel like I'm very connected to tribally, that kind of way of living. Because if I can live in a treehouse, ooh, that would be magical. Also, like my inner dwellings, like I could like, if I could have like a cave and pop out to a treehouse next to the water, tropical, sunshine, fruit growing on the trees. That's one thing about being where I am, is having female producing trees, just having free food people can eat is more natural. Growing up in the States, unless you're on a farm, it's mostly male bodies, male producing body trees. It goes to show you how much manipulation, and I posted another video clip about it, talking about the capitalism of it. Because now, since you ain't got free food, You gotta go to these institutions sponsored by corporations, the government, all working as one entity to get you to come to them for everything. And that's why nature's giving me more clarity, being here and being regrounded, trying to push myself, my spirit forcing me to push myself. Survival, true survival. Because if you didn't have the system, which you've seen the system have its problems. We've had recessions, Great Depression, COVID, shit, all these natural disasters. It's not all guaranteed. Businesses close. We even had when that pipeline in America for gas got hacked, people had no gas. Or during strong storms, power goes out. How much do you actually know to survive without depending on these institutions? Going to the store for food, going to the hospital for medical care. You can imagine if you live in a rural area, how long it takes to get to a hospital, maybe waiting on a medevac helicopter to come in. Your proximity to safety can determine if you live or die, how well you survive. The prognosis from your diagnosis. Yeah. Probably hear that dog in the background. It's nice having dogs, they great security. And friends, if you don't have people to be around. More of a cat person. They definitely sense out energy better, because they fuck with you, then they'll come near you. If they don't, they don't. They sense you out first. Guess depends on the dog too. Some dogs are kind of standoffish and be like, yeah. But I don't know if that's a fence thing, gate thing, because they automatically got that barrier, so they seclude it. And so being behind something, they see somebody, they're like, who are you? They gotta run up and bark. But if it was just open, it might be like, oh, I don't know how they process that. They gotta see people more as an enemy because they behind the gate. Or if they were out in the open, if, oh, hello, I'm out here roaming too, you roaming too, human? There's some dogs, you know, they look at you, go about their way, hesitant, move out the way. Some dogs, they go out their way to come start some trouble. It's like, I'm just walking by, but like I said, luckily I got my stick. I won't have to whack you or jab you, but I'm gonna protect mine. Especially now, getting more to my higher self, having more respect for myself and people, nature, animals, other things. Getting better to a mindset. Because, yeah, going back to visually, how we learn mostly, going back to IKEA too, when you get home with all those boxes, it's time to finally build, if you decide to do it yourself. I was fortunate to be able to work through an app called TaskRabbit, where if you didn't want to or couldn't or had trouble, you hire me. You know, I come through, assemble this IKEA, or mount your IKEA thing to your wall. Because mounting more tricky than assembling. Because assembling should kind of way be like how you grew up playing Legos, if you play with Legos, or just toys in general. Learning how to work with different materials and construct. But yeah, I was fortunate to be able to make a living assembling furniture, mounting things, helping people move, organizing. I have such a meticulous mind and I like things in a orderly fashion. I used to have more OCD growing up. Which OCD was that obsessively control disorder. I think that extended from a lack of control I had in my life. Being controlled, gaslit, manipulated by those close to me, those far away from me, like these governments and institutions that tell you how to be, how to think, who you are. So with IKEA, you do it very simply. They take the basic way of how we learn, visually mostly. The most words in there, and they do different languages too, is like, not even the instructions, it's more about, I guess, contacting the company if you have questions on your order. But, just, y'all witness that, man. Look at that. I don't know. You got the sun about to set over there. I don't know. I can't see visually what y'all seeing, but after I'm done recording this, about to sun gaze majestically. First time I watched the sunset from where I am, I was like, damn, that is magical. It's just like perfect. Like once you watch a beautiful sunset, you see the mystical, fantastic, majestic, overwhelming beauty of nature and this reality on this planet. Sunrise good too, but I like sleep, so I barely catch the sunrise, even though I should catch more of them. Also, look into since we're speaking of visual context, perspectively, look into perspectives. The sun moves on an analemma, and if you ever taken a drawing class, look at line perspective, because based on if you can think of the shirt, if you down here, you can only see so much. If you up here, you can see more. And I was seeing some videos of stuff like how the sun moves and how they say the earth is curved and it goes over. If you look out at the water, you can see how flat it is. If you're on a curved surface, you would know how curvature works. But once you go up more in altitude, you see that the sun, as they call it, sunrise and the sunset, it's not really that thing. It's just the rotation it takes. But based on our perspective of being at ground level, It looks like it rises and sets. But once you go higher in altitude, you'll still be able to see it. It just looks like it's going over the so-called curve. Trying to think of something. I guess if you get one of those big rubber inflatable exercise balls, sit on that. It's good to work on posture and to roll your body out. Try sitting. You ain't gotta do lotus style, or even try to get on it like a cat or stand on it. You see how being on a curved object is. So that should give you more perspective into how the earth is not, at least on this plane. That's why they call them planets, planes, different planes. At least on this plane of what we're on is flat. As far as the sky, if you look back into religious context, especially I guess in the Bible, not religious, more spiritual, in the connection sense of there is a great creator, divine, something. That's how we got here. But they talk about the firmament. The Simpsons even did a joke about breaking the firmament and water rushing through, which makes more sense. I was watching Alice Through the Looking Glass. Yeah, that's the second one, where she had to go through time to help the Mad Hatter. And when she went through time, it was a sea of water, with little like rain droplet bubbles of different times, from a top view and a bottom view, kind of like a mirrored image in a way. And she's just traveling through this water, this space, which makes kind of sense, more sense of going back to the Simpsons reference. They hitting the fair amount. I think it was with a baseball. To even get that far with a baseball. Anywho, for the water to bust through, space being water. If you think about how much is actually water, this planet being mostly water, your body being mostly water, everything is pretty much water. It's just the speed at which it's moving. If you think of matter, if you think of solids, which is not even solid, it's just matter, atoms vibrating very slowly. Because if you were to move fast enough, you can phase through that. Then you got water, higher than that. Bonds, atoms less close together, and then you got gas. You can even think of mist, humidity, that's still water, but you can't see it. Then after that, I believe it's plasma, the ether. Other mythical legends like the lost city of Atlantis. You hear about the great floods. Just something to think about and look into. Most of us don't really look into stuff. And that's kind of the point I'm trying to make with this video, of how we so bombarded with visual context of stuff. It's repetition creates habits, so how much we taking in with our eyes are creating these confirmation biases of how we perceive the world, reality. I think at a certain point in your mind's eye, you can even think about it from your own experience. Like you wanna binge watch TV. You get so caught up in this other reality where you get on the social media, you're like, oh, I'm gonna scroll for 5 minutes, and you end up scrolling for like an hour, lose track of time, breaking the time-space continuum because you're so locked in. So IKEA, they break it down to its most basic form, like hieroglyphics does. Instead of telling the story or trying to visually express an idea of something, children's books do it all the time. They show you how to build some furniture, all without using I guess you would call it a written language. In the sense of like stuff like cuneiform, Latin, Roman alphabet. Cyrillics, just like Russian. I forget what the characters that call that writing style in Asia, even in the Middle East. But even drawing pictures is a written form. It's all character based. Yeah. So even if you didn't know a language, visually is how we take in ideas and concepts. That's why it's so powerful. Like if you were to see a stop sign or exclamation point, you know you need to be alerted. Or if you see the toxic chemical symbol, to be alerted to like not do that. If you saw a U-turn sign, you'd be like, it's a little more clear cut, I guess. I'm trying to think of another symbol you would know without having any idea of what it meant if you were told. Your mind would just visually know. That's how powerful visual contexts are. Even if you weren't taught, learned, your mind processes it to like, oh, that's what that means. Because there's meaning behind the characters, because the characters represents the action, putting thoughts into action, making the abstract tangible. So yeah, after working visually through the IKEA book to assemble your furniture, because a lot of stuff look the same too, so they definitely point out like, here's this one difference you want to make sure you're doing, and they put out each step versus from assembling furniture, some companies they put it all in one. They do like an isometric view, give you 5 steps in one, and tell you to go at it. Sometimes not even big enough for you to really like see, because they cram it all so they can use less paper. IKEA will use more paper to put out the instructions so you visually do it right, but they'll use less in materials like boxing. Like they don't like to use styrofoam and toxic waste and stuff like that. Very little tape, so I admire them from that, even though it is fast furniture and meant to not last that long. So after assembling, or at least trying to assemble, I've had some people try to assemble some IKEA furniture. Then when I get there, I'm like, that's a good effort. You try. At least you try, man. Some people like I'm gonna try some things. Not saying you have to try everything, but it counts for something if you try it. I don't know if failure really exists. It's more of a, it has become unaligned with your intentions or purpose for some reason. But then I gotta go in and retrace your steps to see where you got caught up in not being able to figure out the next step, or to see if you even, where you got to, even did it correctly. Yeah, I kind of feel like Brandon Fraser in Bedazzled. I forget which version he was in his wish thinking, but he would like look out at, I think it was out at the water and see it so beautiful and like want to cry and just like, ugh. Not that I'm gonna cry right now. I already did that. That was yesterday. Right here in this position, this tree, I cried just with gratitude, just for like recognizing how much I've grown, reconnecting with spirit, my indigenous self, pushing myself, growing, for how safe I'm being right now and provided for. I'm more losing things materially, but I'm gaining things more spiritually, intellectually, emotionally. I think that matters most than anything. It's nice to have material stuff, but how much do you actually need at the end of the day? As long as you got the basics covered, you should be good. Other than that, you should be discovering who you are, who you want to be, how you want to be. This meaning to life, the school of life. So yeah, after you get that IKEA project done, you can move it into this position where it gotta go, and yada yada yada. I was giving that example to give context, but if you, especially in like a more developed country, like growing up in America, like just even driving on the road, you can't even appreciate the beauty of it. Depends on where you are, but if you're more near a bigger city and stuff, there's billboards and ads all along that motherfucker. I get signs that tell you where important things are, like attractions, gas, a place to sleep. It's always something being sold to you, telling you how reality is, or this thing is happening, blah blah blah. You just can't appreciate the majestic beauty of the landscape. It's interrupted, and now it's been for a while. They got digital signs, so now you got electronics involved, brighter colors, multiple ads on one. You think that'd be counterintuitive, like it gets your attention, but maybe it gets your attention too much because you're supposed to be driving, concentrating, but then you got something causing you more distraction while you're operating in this convenient but also deadly vehicle. Tangent, which I've been going on tangents, but I thought it'd be funny just to mention it. I was watching this video with Aquarius Maximus, and she was on with Brother Rich of Black Magic 363. It's on YouTube. Great YouTube channel, esoteric knowledge and stuff like that. my most favorite YouTube channel. Shout out to them. But they were talking about, you can see the dysfunction we have in society, but Aquarius brought up, once we get on the roads and stuff, I mean, there are accidents and stuff, but how we can actively come together to go at the speeds we do, to work together to not just be traffic and pileups all day, every day. You got driver's ed, practicing it behind the wheel, practicing flow and stuff like that. But just the magic of that, we don't think about like how we all can just, amidst some dysfunction, a lot of dysfunction, we can come together, get on the road, like, hey, here's the speed limit, maintain the speed. We gonna follow a line, get in, get off. It's tricky, man, especially the highway. On the streets, a little more easier because you got stop signs, street signs, roundabouts, all that. But on the highway, the entering and exiting, cars already going fast. You gotta find your little way to hop in that space, like double dutch. It's pretty impressive. Some people don't keep in mind it's an enter and exit lane, so they don't get over for you to get in, because that on ramp, it does end. It does end. Yeah, so you got people that can be, if they can't get over, I see, but you also have to be aware of how fast and you going and stuff to get on. You just can't come burling up and think you just gonna get in right away. Anywho, I don't know, yeah, that's pretty impressive, like that system of that, and collectively we can be like, alright, this is what we're supposed to do, this is how it flows, we can get in the flow and just get in there and make it happen to do it. I think that's pretty cool. I never thought about that. That's why it's nice to have perspective and listen to different perspective and listen to thought-provoking things. It puts more perspective in you and in your mind to get a, as I'm saying, a broader, not just me saying, but the just reality saying, a broader picture of how things really are, how multifaceted it is. It's not just one thing, it's this and that, and in between. End of tangent. So if you're looking at these ads, always telling you something, especially for food and drinking, like how much, like think about if you're actually hungry or thirsty or not, like, or want alcohol, but you see these ads for food and drinks and you're like, oh, I want to do that, because then that relates to other sensations of that thing you just saw. Like if I saw Arby's sign, I'd be like, oh, fuck yeah, give me some curly fries, man, because goddamn, that shit's fire. Like, I think that should be mandatory. Like curly fries, like, should be mandatory everywhere. Not everybody got a good fry. You get these home cut fries, and sometimes they soggy, overcooked, and just kind of pathetic. Curly fry, more than likely, like that breading, I don't know, the breading they put on there is, I think it's ranch style, because I've had ranch style fries that are straight. But yeah, curly fries are just, potatoes in general, man, they very versatile. Like, give me a good mashed potato. Anything but a baked potato. But I guess it's gotta be scooped out with some stuff in the middle. I think just the proportion of radio of just like dry ass potato to stuff on top, I need it mixed in. That's just me personally. That's just my preference. Ooh, I gotta Switch up. My legs falling asleep. Oof. And I don't want to fall off this tree. That would be, ain't too far, but I ain't trying to go to the hospital. But yeah, so much visually we take in, going from ads to these billboards, the television, just being about, just, I don't know how much you keep track of, how much you visually take in, all these distractions to keep you distracted from what's really going on or how things are. And like, that's what I'm saying, like being back in nature and just sitting quietly and just like listening to the leaves, the birds, watching the insects, just seeing how things operate. We don't, when they made that, they put that shit on TV because you can learn more knowledge. What's that dude name? Planet Earth, David Scalesborough or something? Yeah, they give you that, which I know you can't go everywhere or explore the depths of the ocean. But to even just go to the park and just sit without no phone or other things, just watch and look and stuff like that. Even that, you gotta be careful. You heard that fucking story. Black dude, bird watching, and just getting like, just can't even sit peacefully and bird watch. And B, that goes to visually, like, depending on, that helps facilitate how you see the world. I don't know that lady, but from her perspective and what she's been in, or lack of being around, especially with news and media, you get portrayed to certain ideas of things. And so if you don't perceive that in reality, in person, you've abstracted what you've seen visually somewhere else and apply that to the real world. And that may not always be one-to-one. You know, that system check, that binary, yes, no. And so from there, I don't know if she extrapolated, like, oh, it's just this black dude sitting there bird watching. I didn't read the article, but being black, well, black, quote unquote, indigenous, person of the earth, God, in a manifestation, a 3D manifestation. I would imagine she extrapolated like, oh, this dude's up to some shady stuff. Just peacefully bird watching, came and bird watch and be a part of nature and part of the world and observe some shit without somebody thinking you up to no good. And that's another thing too, visually being shown that is being sold and told the story, but we don't actually even know the whole full story. We weren't even there. Even if you get interviews and stuff like that, you still don't know. How much is even the truth or sensationalized, because how much the news show, especially if you look at American news, now it's 24 hours, it's just showing the same things over and over. Especially nowadays, you got the wars going on. And shit, I'm not really looking at the news, but the one I know of is the Israel-Palestine, and you see how much people are being affected by that. Like, it's a mindfuck, the glorification of atrocity. Like, that's the thing, visually, it's all being blended together, so reality versus fantasy, you can't make sense of it even more. That's why we binge watch TV, we get into these fantasies, these other realities. But then when you turn on other TV, the news, presidential debates, it's all looking the same. So who's to say what's real and what's not anymore? Like, it don't make sense. That's why I'm glad I'm out in nature, turning this shit off. It's just like, this can't be real anymore. It's gotta be some kind of, as they say, simulation, which it is in a way if you think about, I guess, visual context, from going from the abstract to the 3D. Because your brain's a computer. You think about the computer, which I'm not like that technical in that way. You got the processing units for visually, mathematically, all that internal work has to work together to come to give you a visual perspective. But that's just on a 2D, simulated 3D, or then to get it from this 3D box showing a overlay of 3D from the 2D, you can get a 3D printer, make some robots. So that's how you can think about the universal simulation in a way. Because if you think about the universe as God, any and everything, things start in the spiritual before they metaphysical, before they get to this 3D plane, this lower dimension. Has to come from somewhere in the mind's eye. The universe has a mind's eye. And as they say, we are God, all the universe. So the universe's manifestation of going from the abstract to the physical is us, as the way, I guess you could, if you saw, I think I mentioned it before in another video, the Avengers Age of Ultron. You think about Ultron, but also Jarvis, how they gone from this abstract computer into the 3D world. So that's basically how we operate in a way, the universe. And further taking from our universal mind of the universe and creating stuff. We've all create stuff, hopefully in some kind of way. Especially as a kid, you get curious and like to build things, put stuff together. Or if you took an idea from your mind, like a picture, and drew it out, or actually like conceptualize a 3D concept. Maybe you do like carving, woodwork, building. Even acting, in a way, is a visual interlay of the both. From the abstract to the tangible, you're telling a story of some idea, concepts, and you visually, physically portraying that out. How you manifest through these different dimensions and temporal, corporeal, energetic forms. Like I was saying, going back to the forms of matter, you got the solids, liquid, gas. It's kind of like in that way. You can think of I guess you can think of dry ice, how it can go from a solid to a gas. If you think of liquid, how it does all three phases: solid, ice, liquid as the liquid water, then gas as it evaporates. Yeah, it's a very convexing thing to think about. And that's the whole point of getting out of nature and moving the distractions. You can stop and think about shit like that too. Versus all this visual that somebody else gives you, or these programs on TV and signs and stuff telling you how something actually is. Because through their repetition of how they want you to see things, you think the world is, or reality is as they want you to see it, versus how you should see it and process it. And that's why you lose, lustfully obtain sensations externally through these visual processes, cortexes, because it's being dumped on you and so overlaid, you can't see anything else but how they want you to see it. Then through confirmation bias, it gets played out in reality, not all the time, or even perceived to be away in reality. Back to the example of the black man just bird watching and getting the cops calling on him. Oh, the sun's setting. I'm still recording though, but I'm gonna be in this. I can kind of see it from here. Ooh, man, this is. I wish this tree was taller. I can pop up the camera and show y'all. I don't know if you can see it through the tree there. I don't know. I was coming off the camera. Anywho, I'll probably get another video when I can get a chance to get closer another day. I'm gonna be here for a while. A little bit. But yeah, since birth, growing up from the people you grew up with, communities, this tribalness, how they learn previous generations. We all go through school, these institutions. And so much of life is learned visually and through other senses. And so we start to perceive this reality as we think it is, and gets confirmed through other people and doing the same stuff, because we're all, not all, but most, and it mostly the same around the world, but it differs. That's why we got different cultures and perspectives. You hear about the like East versus West philosophies and stuff like that. The Western philosophy is more, it has the spiritual side, because you got Jesus and mostly that. They do it from more of a quasi-logical standpoint. But then you got the Eastern philosophy, is more connected to the spiritual. And then they got all the ancient texts of stuff, with these stories and mythologies, folklore, then connecting back to all these monuments that they digging up, discover and stuff like that. Shows, and they give you history about it, showing the time frame of civilization, or just so-called humans on this planet. Like, that's the thing though too, like, of all the universe, of what they show us in these science stuff, and they show more of the universe in the fantasy stuff, like science fiction and stuff, than they do in reality, because they say they limited in scope to what they can see and stuff. But like, us to be the only habitable planet in the whole universe, have not life exists in a humanoid fashion in a way, because you don't have to be a human just to be life as organisms and stuff. But to be the only planet like us, like this, in the whole universe, how vast the universe is, be the only thing, intelligent life, and now they have the whole whistleblower, what's that dude, Gorsh or something, testify about aliens, and when's the last time we really heard about aliens? Other than like mainly in the 60s, Roswell, but then they kept quiet. But we get a lot of TV shows about aliens and mystical stuff, gods, other dimensions, the occult, like witchcraft and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know about you, through life, whatever you're interested in, that's where you put more of your focus into, your energy. So for us to dwell so much energetically into what is not real, just to show, like I was saying, you tell stories through personification and stuff. Yeah, that's one thing. But to do it so much, not have it based in some kind of realness, I don't know, man. And that's the thing with them teaching you, they got you programmed to their way of thinking, that anything outside their thinking, wherever you grew up, you don't believe. But once the trusted source tells you about something, like, oh, okay, nah, I can believe it. Yeah. So even if you didn't believe in aliens before, like, oh, there's hoax and stuff, but now that government officially is saying aliens, you're like, oh, that shit real and stuff like that. So that's why you need to think for yourself, get away from the distractions to make sense of what the possibility is, because you don't even know what's possible. Through their visual context, they made you believe, or helped influence you to believe what's possible or not possible. And they influence you in so many other ways too, other than visually. Like, most people don't look at the labels of the food they eat. Like, try to read some of the names on that. It's like, what the fuck is this? And you ain't got no food science degree. You ain't looking it up to see what it actually is. You just going off sight, because a lot of this shit look good. And taste, how they manipulate taste and sight. But if you like really look at stuff and not get used to it, and like, if you really think about, like, if you, that's why it's like being here and being next to, not that it don't have its fake food, it's more natural, real food. You taste the difference of how it's not infused with such shit. Like a Twinkie, like, what the fuck is that? Yeah, it tastes good, but like, if you really look at the structure of it, and like, oh, it's a sponge cake with cream filling, but it's like, you get so used to that processed, artificial shit, it becomes your reality, it becomes real. So you find that acceptable till you have some real food. And that's a shock too, because you eat some real food, you're like, ugh, what's this? Like something that's less sweet, less fat with oil. even going vegan, I'm leaning towards more vegan food that's more natural, less processed, really tasty. Most people are like, ugh, vegan, but if you know how to cook vegan, there's some delicious vegan food out there. Find vegan food of its own creation too from places, but a lot of vegetarian vegan foods still cater to if you came from meat, so they'll have the substitutes. We got all this fake ass meat out there now, and the soy. And soy, that's in a lot of stuff. If you look up soy too, it has high levels of estrogen in it. And that's another way to how they reversing the genders too, emasculating the men and the women becoming more masculine is affecting you chemically. That's why you should read the labels and look into what you actually put into your body, because you don't know how it's manipulating you on a chemical level to change you on a vibratory level, how you process. And they got fluoride in the water, which closes your third eye, the extra sixth sense, intuition, where you can't really perceive stuff out. It actually is. And through the schooling, they teach you behaviorally, you should do this and that, and like think about the things you do and don't do. Think about law, who makes the law, enforces the law, puts down the penalty of law. And if you look at a lot of these institutions, how it was founded and what's it all, especially in America, is like, you should see how absurd it is to how America came to be, like coming and stealing land, discovered land, people already there. Plus, just because your ass got there don't mean you discover it. Nature already had the land there. It's just you just got there. But also to steal the land from indigenous people, to massacre them, play like they friend. You hear the whole pilgrim feast stuff, but then you hear about Thanksgiving, the massacre that happened after it, of showing like, oh yeah, we your friend, we eating, we drinking. I got low battery, 20%. We eating, we drinking. Then in the dead of night, take your ass out. It's like, what? And then enslave the people. Bring about your whole institution's way of life. Denoting the laws and Judge Dredd out here. That's what basically the military police do. Judge, judge, jury, executioner, all in one. So people who come to be the purveyors of law and make the decisions coming from just malevolent, just horrendous actions and thoughts. Now they determine how society lives, and you got to question that too. Like, why do you think society, the world is the way it is? You're looking at the history of how governments and powers came to be. Like, how did you get that? You think they just gonna do something horrendous and be all nice? Like, they'll switch up like that? That's gonna be implemented in the society that they have constructed after the fact. So that's what you're seeing now. They got you so visually digmatized and for lack of better words, of like, oh yeah, everything's good, especially growing up in America, because they provide so much and give you everything, but it's all at a cost of manipulation to get you to be this soulless zombie, worker bee. And now, as you see, they don't really care about you as they take away jobs, give it to AI. How much debt they put you in just to even live. They want you to go to school and get an education, but it costs so much. Just all the ways they keep you constricted to them, how they made you rely on them because you don't really know how to do nothing. Just like even being out here in the wilderness, just like even making a fire. Like if you had to make a fire to stay warm and survive, how would you even do that? Especially if you didn't have like some basics like a match. Do you know what wood to collect? Do you know how to build the firewood up to get it going and to maintain and go? That shit hard, it ain't easy. Or how to fish, go gather for food or medicinal plants. Just hiking too, how much walking I do. So some people look at me like, oh, why don't you get a taxi? I'm like, it's a beautiful place where I'm at. I want to see nature, so I'm hiking and stuff and camping. I'll stay in some Airbnbs and stuff like that. So yeah, they just got you, they manipulated you in your reality, this reality where they win and you lose. But we at a point where things are being flipped. Now hopefully the head becomes the tail and the tail becomes the head. Those at the bottom are going to start winning. Those at the top are going to start losing. Because this paradigm is definitely not fair, distributed truthfully, evenly. How much we work and give our energy to fund them, like they stealing from us, we don't even know. They take all the benefits for themselves. I heard something like we bankroll like England and just the governments in general. Just think about taxes you pay, how much you get back. Even if that, depending on where you live, where I am, I heard them get income refund checks. So you're getting all your money to the government. And what's the government doing is giving it back to the people. Certainly not here. And giving it more for the government, the holiday takers to enjoy this beautiful tropical place. And the residents, they just farm to table, hand to mouth, gotta survive, getting lack from even taking water away from the people. And just like, so fucking ridiculous, man. Every place got their issues of how the government, that's what I'm saying, all perspective. Like, growing up in America, man, you get under the illusion visually, like, oh man, we got everything. They make it so convenient. You can just whip out your phone. You ain't even gotta leave the house. You can just order anything, food, get your dry cleaning. You can do therapy. Like certain other places ain't that well connected. They even got electricity, internet, high-speed internet. Man, not everybody got it good in America, but it's like a sadistic utopia in a way. But being out in nature is making me realize how much I don't need. Like I'm living out of a backpack and a few bags right now. And it means the world to me. It's like, that's all I need. I need more forthright in my mind, and so do you. Perspective. Winning, welcoming, internal nourishment. Because that's what's actually going to feed you. Mind, body, soul, spirit. provide a better context of reality. This reality was actually real. There's a lot of pomp and circumstances. The world's a stage. It's one big stage. It's like, oh, what up, pigeon, dove, whatever you are. It's kind of like the Olympics, how they can control you visually through the screen. They like make it all look good, but then behind the scenes, it's not all that good. If you look at the one in Russia, like a lot of the athletes had to sign NDAs about what's really going on. What's another one I'm trying to think of? Just the theater too, like I did theater, and just like the magic that goes behind the scenes, being dressed in black, of like, you just see the actors on stage, the curtains and the lights and the sounds, but you don't see all the intricateness of the people in black making stuff happen. It just looks like magic, effortlessly moving. But there's an inner working, and if you were behind the scenes seeing the inner working, like, oh, that's how they do it. And a lot of us ain't behind the scenes and the inner workings to see how it actually was going on. We just seeing what they want us to see, how it's going on, influencing how we believe what is actually going on, instead of actually knowing what's going on. And it's time we get to knowing what's going on instead of believing what we think is going on. You have to take time to remove those distractions to even know, to go from believing to know. It's one thing to believe, and it's another thing to know. And how much do you actually know? And the arrogant part of you think you know everything, because especially going to America or somewhere more developed, we have access to the internet and all this information. It's like, oh, it's right there. But how much of the information are you actually delving into and cross-referencing it with other information? That's why it's nice to look into these conspiracy theories, because like, even though they may seem hokey and like, it's another source. It's somebody actually doing some work other than just believe in the government. And you see how the government treats you, but they got you so, like I said, digmatized. You like, even amongst the abuse, you still keep going back to them because that's all you know. But we gotta move beyond knowing them and believing what they say to knowing reality, true reality. It's time to break away from the system, revolt from the system, because the system is designed to harness your energy and take from you. That's how tricky and seductive it is. It looks pleasurable, like, oh, you're taking care of me, but really it's to fuck you up. Got you caught up in that illusion. A well-played illusion. I was in that illusion, but I'm breaking from that illusion, starting to know reality for what it is. More and more each day. But you got to take that time and energy of yourself to put it toward you. But they make you so drained at the end of the day. Whether it's through work, eating, what you consume, that you don't give that energy back to you, you give it all to somebody else. And since you don't give it to you, you don't know who you are, how you want to be. Know reality from believing so-called reality. Believing you gotta go to work every day. If you know how to provide for yourself, farm, hunt, enlighten yourself, you can live off the grid. But you're so used to the convenience of what they provide and not wanting to put in the effort to have true communities to work together to provide how these institutions provide, that we willing to keep sacrificing ourselves to take their manipulation as they keep abusing us, as they show you. They don't care. Like during COVID, the little hand-me-down of the checks they give you, that was just more trickery to keep you locked in, to like, oh yeah, we got you. You keep coming back for more, like, you know, that abuse. It's like, oh, they were good to me. They're gonna keep doing it, but they gonna change. It's that shit. It's time to believe in yourself enough to start to know yourself and to know you shouldn't have to deal with this bullshit anymore. To be a part of this bullshit. That's how we create a better world of more connectedness. We all work on ourselves, because who causing the troubles in the world if not the people? There's other things causing troubles in the world but the people, but that's big topics for other days and stuff. A lot of people are already talking about, we already talked about aliens, gods, dimensions, and this. But there's only so much you can comprehend, understand at so many levels, like school, like how you go through the different grades. You don't pop out from being a baby and going to college the next day. You gotta work your way up, understand some basic concepts like language, especially the written word, which you work through a lot too, versus it ain't all just pictures visually, which has been most of this conversation what we're talking about. Moon popping out. The night light, you have the daylight, now you got the night light coming out. It's close to being a full moon. I wonder if this is a special moon of this so-called moon. I'm glad the camera didn't fuck up in this. The last video was glitching haywire. It started nice. It's kind of a cool visual. Ooh, kind of can't even see the sun, but what they call it from the Italian chiaroscuro, the juxtaposition of light and dark. No, it's cool visually. Yeah. That's why I like graffiti, which is also more glyphs and pictures, an implied line, the contrast. That's what I'm getting from this. And just graffiti in general, the hidden messages they have, especially in revolutions speak and stuff, conveying messages. And some people see it as dirty and like, but they got something to say. They not being heard, so how do you do it in this big spectacle? Yeah, you got some people throwing up what they represent and stuff. But even then, what they represent can be misconstrued from reality and government per se. Because they like to get on gangs and stuff, but shit, corporations and these institutions, the biggest gangs, pimp the pusher, the abuser, manipulator, the tyrant, solicitor, aggregator. Ooh, is that a bat? Flew like, oh, hey, what up? Nightingale? Was that one thing? But yeah, my phone about to go out. Surprised it ain't go out already. I'm just gonna talk until it go out. But yeah, start thinking for yourself, being for yourself. Gotta be selfish in that way so you can be selfless toward yourself and other people. Because you gotta give yourself that time to heal, to be better. And then you know how you want to be treated and go about. Then you'll treat other people that same way. And that's how you make a community, a tribe. And to make this better world that we want to live in and see the truth. Kumbaya with the aliens and astral planing and maybe space travel one day, because we only like, what, a type 1 civilizations? Look at the different types of civilizations too. There's more than one type. We basic down here. Most likely for a reason, because if other people are or entities are in control, then they determine how you will be. Basically, I'm tired of being enslaved. I want to be free. I'm tired of losing. I want to do more winning. And so should you. I see you.